Hi there, it's Mark. This is our third episode of the interview show, the podcast. It's a short one. It's an interview from the archives with the actor Carrie Coon. She's currently, of course, on the third season of The White Lotus. My wife and I are all in. Carrie is, as always, great. This interview, though, is from January 2020, as Carrie was getting ready to perform in Bug at the Steppenwolf Theatre in Chicago. And all of us, unknowingly, were getting ready for the world to fall apart. I believe, in fact, that Bug was stopped mid-run and then did come back during the pandemic when theater came back. Anyways, the first few minutes of this conversation with Carrie are about Bug, and then we move on. I love this night at the Hideout. We filmed it for TTW, the Chicago's PBS station, and Carrie is the best kind of interview, funny, insightful, and willing to call me on my own BS. All right, we've got another live show coming up at FitzGerald's on March 20th, so hopefully check that out on my website, on the interview show website. And I'm interviewing Paul Reiser, the great comedian, for Chicago Humanities on March 13th, if you're listening in time. That's at the Music Box in Chicago. Go to chicagohumanities.org for more on that. Please share if you like this interview and rate and all that. And here from 2020 is Carrie Coon.
So I usually don't say this, but we are filming the show. It's airing when Bug at Steppenwolf is just getting going, but we're filming it when rehearsals are just getting going. Mm-hmm. And so I, as a non-actor, want to start with, tell me about the beginning of the rehearsal process, if it's the same for every play, and especially for a play that's this intense. Mm-hmm. Like, how do you ramp up into that?
Oh, gosh, I don't know. I feel we're still blocking it, and we've been rehearsing for a couple of weeks.
I don't even know what that means.
Right, okay, so really, brass tacks. Okay, yeah. So I think every rehearsal process starts when you sit around the table and you read the play.
Right.
And everybody feels...
A table read.
A table read.
There you go.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And everybody says, we can do this. We can do this. And then you get on your feet after a few days and you start to muck around. It's the first scene. You're like, okay, all right, we can do this. Yeah. And then right around the end of the first week, you try to run through some of it and you say, well, we should quit.
Yeah.
Why are we doing this?
Does that ever happen?
No one should ever do this.
Does that ever happen?
It happened to me just last week.
That you actually quit? You're not doing the play anymore?
Well, I try to convince everyone every night. I keep saying, if we all walk out at the same time, there's nothing they can do.
There's nothing.
If I just take everybody with me, they can't. What are they going to do?
Yeah, David Cromer would figure something out.
Well, he would quit too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very enrolling.
So David, the director of the play,
yes,
was on the show years ago, and he told me something that I've never forgotten and still don't kind of ignore, which is he said, plot doesn't matter.
That explains a lot about the process. David's here, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, but so anyways, the plot of Bug.
Yes.
It takes place in a motel room in Oklahoma.
Yes.
You play Agnes. Agnes is a 40-year-old divorcee. 44, right, it's exact.
I'm 38, but yeah, thanks.
What do you do for that? Do you gray hair? Do you
yes.
Do you worry more than normal?
You just hunch over more. Yeah. Osteoporosis
I'm 46,
is a choice I'm making right now. Yeah. I'm a little worried about you, frankly, yeah.
And so she's a waitress. Mm-hmm. She's a divorcee whose husband is in prison, and she's worried that he's going to come out of prison and find her.
Right.
She's addicted to freebasing cocaine.
She enjoys it.
Right, fine. It's a hobby.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a fine line, right?
Yeah.
She's haunted by some things.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Things have happened to her.
That's right.
And then a guy comes into her motel room and life, and at first provides solace.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then things get hairier.
I think you should do it.
I'd quit.
You seem to really get it. I think maybe.
Well, here's my question. Why do you think the play, when it was first put on in 1996, had such an electric reaction, and why in 2019 are we still doing it? What is it about?
Well, it's fundamentally a love story.
Okay.
It's a love story about two unlikely partners. Something we all, I think, still hope for, either in our own lives or for the people that we love. And it's about loneliness. And I believe that even though the play was written in 1996, that what's happened with technology, how it's overtaken us, has actually isolated us even more. And I think that's why you see the pernicious impact of fake news.
Yeah.
And the way that people are able to see whatever they want to see in whatever they're consuming. And I think Tracy was really...
the playwright.
The playwright.
And your husband.
My husband.
Yeah.
That's not why I got the job.
Right.
But I'm actually really good at it. Well, we'll see. Gromer's like, no, she's not.
I'm not going to say anything. That's a danger zone for the interview.
You're right. You're right. That's good. You've learned a lot.
Yeah.
I think it's shockingly relevant right now, and I think the play is actually still shocking.
Well, Peter thinks he's being followed. He thinks he's being followed by machines.
Yes.
And we are being followed by machines.
He's
right.
David made the point today that eventually we're going to get so sick of our phones being inconvenient. Like I dropped it in the toilet, I have to pick it up. It's like, well, we could just implant it right here.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. When you're playing a role that's so fraught with anxiety and paranoia, how does it not seep into your walking life, your everyday life?
See, I've always been of the mind that actors are really healthy because we get to...
That's not what I've heard, though.
Well, there are some bad examples. They're the ones that get all the press.
Yeah, yeah.
The really normal, well-adjusted ones don't get a lot of press.
Yeah.
So we are invited to smash things and yell and roll around on the ground and kiss people.
Yeah.
And I think it's really healthy, ultimately.
You get it out of your system.
I think so. I think there's something to that. And frankly, I used to have a process. I used to prepare for roles and think about them a lot and had a lot of tools. And now I have a toddler. And now I'm just like, okay, I hope I know some of this.
Yeah.
And you don't, I can't bring it home. I can't afford to bring it home with me.
Well, let's talk about that. You sent out a tweet not too long ago at the turn of the decade, at the turn of the year, turn of the decade.
Oh, yeah.
In which you said, look, this was a really monumental decade for me, and it started at the beginning in 2010 when you were cast in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, which is where I believe you met Tracy.
That's correct.
And it also was it catapulted you into roles on TV. You went to New York.
Yep, I wouldn't have had a TV film career without that.
Did you, at what point, when you got the part, first few weeks in, not that you knew you were going to marry Tracy or you're going to get the part in Leftovers or anything like that. Right. Did you? When did you know? Like, when did you know that this was a significant thing that had happened to you?
Well, look, I mean, I'd been auditioning at Steppenwolf for years, a few years, and I had been championed by, Erica Daniels was the casting director, and she'd actually been my judge at this thing called the Urda auditions, which is where you audition for a bunch of graduate schools. So she knew about me when I got to the city. I'd been doing Shakespeare in Wisconsin. James Bonin at Remy Bumpo gave me my first job in Chicago. And so Erica had been calling me in pretty regularly at Steppenwolf, and I'd been called back for a few things, but hadn't quite found the right part. And I knew when I started working on Honey, I just didn't want anybody else to do it.
Yeah.
And because I'd had a good track record there, it just happened that it was the right, it was just the right thing at the right time. And I knew it was important, but only important for me in Chicago, in that I was finally on the main stage at Steppenwolf. I was working with these extraordinary actors. I had a great director. I had a great play. I had a part that was well suited for me. And that was it. The producers who took us to Broadway didn't come till our last weekend in Washington, D.C.
Is that right?
So we didn't know we were going to go.
Yeah.
And then we didn't go to Broadway for 18 months. So I then kind of worked my way back through the storefront system in Chicago. And then, the fact that it was a critical success in New York, but nobody saw it.
What do you mean nobody saw it?
Nobody. Whoever saw it voted for Tracy for the Tony. Like, like the 300 people who saw it.
Somebody important
But
saw it.
the Hurricane Sandy happened the weekend after we opened, and we just tanked. And then Bette Midler came in and was like, "Get out of here." We were like, "Oh, okay."
Midler kicked you out?
She did.
I heard she was a nice person.
I'm sure she's nice. Her daughter's very lovely.
Yeah, but she just gave you the boot.
She was like, "Get out of here. I'm redecorating." We're like, "Okay." So we left.
When did you start acting? What was the first time you got up? Were you like one of those, like, I'm in the 5th grade play?
I grew up in a family with 5 kids and 2 working parents.
In Ohio, right?
In Ohio, in Northeast Ohio. A great place to be from and a very nice place to leave. And my whole family is there. I've got 3 grandparents in their 90s. All my siblings are there. And I remember my friend took me to see Babes in Toyland at the Akron Civic Theater, which is an atmospheric theater, meaning they have the clouds and the stars, and it's extraordinary. And I saw kids my age on stage in a professional theater, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
How are they allowed to, who's it? So I went home and I looked up the Weather Vane Theater in our little community paper, and they were having auditions. And I went to my mom, I was like, do you think maybe I can? She was like, no. She doesn't remember that, by the way.
No. She remembers saying
She didn't
yes.
like to drive us anywhere.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, she's like, I never would have prevented you.
Yeah.
I was a free babysitter, so.
Yeah.
So I didn't actually start theater then until high school. I was waiting for soccer practice to start my senior year.
You played soccer in college.
I did. I played soccer and ran track for a couple of years. I was an athlete, big jock, and so I was waiting for soccer practice to start, and I auditioned for the school play. It was Our Town. And so I played Emily in a terrible production, because they always are terrible in high school. Yeah. But I knew that her speech was really extraordinary.
Our Town can go on forever, too.
Well, it can. Any high school production really goes on too long. And but I knew there was something important about the speech. I knew that I had some power, and I was a middle child. Nobody was paying any attention to me.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, oh, attention? I didn't even know I was missing this. And so, and then I didn't do another play until college, and it was the same kind of thing. I was an English major, they posted auditions, it was not soccer season, I got a lead play in the Shakespeare play my freshman year. Yeah. And then I did 4 or 5 plays in college, and I had a professor who came to me and said, I think you could go to graduate school for acting. Otherwise, I was gonna be a linguist. I'd still be in school right now.
Are you given your past as an athlete, are you this is a 2-part question. Are you this is what people in the audience always ask. I have a 2-part question.
Okay.
Are you
yes.
Are you competitive?
Yes.
And is there competition in the theater world beyond the audition process?
I would say that's another thing that's different in Chicago than maybe any other place. The community is really tight-knit. And again, nobody feels like they're gonna get famous out of this place. So when I auditioned for the role of Honey at Steppenwolf, for example, all the women that were called back, we all went out to lunch after our callback.
Really?
And
but nobody slipped something in the drink?
Not that I'm aware of. And we also, you know, for example, you'll go to a...
Did they go out to lunch with you after you got the part?
No, I've never spoken to them again. I'm out of here. No, really. It's not true. But what is true is that you'll go to like a casting for a commercial, and somebody will have their toddler there, and like everybody in the waiting room's like, all right, have them sit here while you go in. Yeah. I mean, everybody really takes care of each other here, and that is extraordinary. And I forgot what we were talking about.
No.
Oh, and yes, I'm competitive.
Yeah.
But I'm competitive. The other thing about Chicago, I feel like it's a healthy competition. Yeah. I had an actor come up to me after I did Virginia Woolf, and she ran into me in an audition, and she said, I auditioned for that, and I really, really wanted it. And when I saw you do it, I thought to myself, that's the performance, we wanted to see. Like, you were the right person for that part, and congratulations. And that sort of, I feel like that happens a lot in our city, and it doesn't necessarily happen out in like LA or New York. I mean, I haven't done that kind of thing out in New York, but it feels different here. Yeah. But yeah, I'm competitive. When they were looking for other movie stars to do this play at Steppenwolf, because nowadays a theater play, it has to be an event. You have to
sell tickets.
Yeah, you have to create some buzz around something. So they were looking for somebody really famous, and they were getting turned down. And I was in our house, and I was like, I should do it.
Yeah, not Bette Midler.
Yeah. And Tracy was like, you're not old enough to do it. And I was like, I'm old enough. And then as soon as I was just like, that was the stupidest thing I've ever said. I know I'm in rehearsal, I'm like, what a terrible idea.
What a dumb thing to do.
I shouldn't have said that.
What's your favorite? Do you have a favorite role? I mean, let's talk, it could be theater or TV or movies.
Like a favorite role that I've played?
Yeah, or just any role in the history of art.
It's pretty broad. It's pretty broad, Mark. Do you want to narrow that down?
Sure. Roles that you played on HBO between 2014 and 2017.
Well, funny you should mention it.
Yeah.
Well, I will say that The Leftovers, it was my first television show. I don't know that I'll ever have a role like that ever again. It's really unusual. It was kind of an extraordinary part. It asked a lot of me in a way that a lot of women's roles don't. They don't require all of you. I mean, there was fighting and yelling and breaking things and rolling down hills and mud and guns, and it was really special. Yeah. And it was my first one, so it was special for that reason too. In some ways, it really launched my career. That show opened a lot of doors for me. Doing Leftovers is what got me Fargo. You don't get Fargo if you don't do Leftovers.
Yeah, and it seemed like there was a moment where now you have a toddler, you can't do it as much, but you must have been working nonstop. I
have been working, I've been working really, this decade has been a decade of working, which is, for an actor, that means success. That's what you want to do. And now I've reached a place where I get to say no to things, which is the only power you have, really. Yeah. And so now, because I'm competitive, I'll only do things that are really, really hard or really easy.
Well, let's talk about, okay, last question then. Where does the upcoming Ghostbusters fit in? Hard or easy?
Oh.
Yeah. And this is something you're not supposed to do as an interviewer, but can you give me an anecdote that involves the old people are in it? Or you're not supposed to talk about
to
it?
say that,
Come on, it's on IMDb.
Is it?
Yeah, Bill Murray's in it. And,
Is he?
yeah, Ernie Hudson's in it.
Well, he may or may not have sung a funeral dirge at lunch on his birthday with a bagpiper. Is that good?
I won't tell anyone.
Okay.
Yeah, Carrie Coon.
All right, thanks for listening. Please, if you like, share, rate, all that. Subscribe, that's important. I want to thank the people who made this happen. That includes The Hideout, that includes Ben Chandler, Todd 2, Kevin Viol, everybody at The Hideout, Carrie, Steppenwolf, Chicago, and you. So appreciate it. Subscribe again. Tune in next time. We'll have a podcast of a new interview of one from this year, I think. All right. Take care. Bye.